Please feel free to help yourself with refreshments at the back. Good evening. While we are waiting for the other panelist and Dr. Ramachandran to be here, let's have a very quick interactive quiz, and let's see how many of you can answer them right. Oh, we have giveaways too for that. So the first question being, if you've been spending most of your first trimester throwing up, are you carrying a boy or a girl? Any answers? Yeah, go ahead.
The majority is generally.
That's awesome. That's awesome coming from a guy you. Father, yes. I wasn't sure if he was a father yet. Okay, that's awesome.
So we have a panelist.
Okay. Yeah, so we had the right answer from, what's your name, please? Shri Karan. Please give him a round of applause, and he gets our first giveaway. That's for you. All right. Moving on to the next question. If you tend to throw up or vomit, you're likely to have a hairy baby. Is it true or false? Let's give a chance to the others who are here.
We'll come back to you.
Anyone else? I'll repeat the question. If you tend to throw up or vomit, you're likely to have a very hairy baby. True or false? Awesome. I guess we can be a little more enthusiastic in giving him a hand of applause. The men folk here are being very enthusiastic here, so. The women. All right. All right. So the movements of the umbilical cord is governed by A, the baby's movement, or B, you, the mother. Sure. The movement of the umbilical cord is governed by A, the baby's movement, or B, you, the mother. All right. So since most of you answered them right, good job. Round of applause. Okay. The fourth question. Can a wrist of bangles serve as an early warning sign for rising blood pressure? Yes or no? Okay. You all know your.
We heard it on the radio.
See, now you know you have a large, huge fan following. So, all right. Consumption of prenatal vitamins and minerals can lead to formation of a large baby. True or false? Okay.
We have too many doctors here, so everybody knows the answer.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the next question. So, if you were to look or venture out during a solar eclipse, it will cause A, injury to your eyes, or B, deformations to the baby.
Yeah. If you were to look at it.
Sure. If you were to look or venture out during a solar eclipse, it will cause A, injury to your eyes, or B, deformations to your body.
To your baby.
Okay. Okay. This is a question that will be, the right answer will be getting a prize. So kindly raise your hands up and we'll call out. Which of this can cause a miscarriage? A ripe papaya or a raw papaya? Okay, you go. Yeah, some exercise to your hands, please. We just have a couple of more questions. Will my milk dry up if I stand next to the stove while cooking? A, yes, B, no. Okay. All right, no is the right answer. Yeah, I know all of them are answering. So when all of them answers, they all clap for themselves. Okay, let's put a pause to the fun interactive session. Let's actually get into our main event. While we are waiting for Mr. Ramachandran to be here, we'll just go ahead and introduce Lakshmi and the book. Okay. I have a small request. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to begin, please be seated and kindly switch your mobile phones to silent to avoid any interruption. Thank you. And I request the media personnel to please take the first row. That way you'll have better coverage or access. All right, so let's just begin. Good evening. A very warm welcome to all of you to the launch of this much awaited Mommy book. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules and making it despite the crazy traffic out here in Chennai. We hope all of you are comfortable and you had a chance to have refreshments. Please feel free to have some coffee or cookies anytime. All right, so we'll begin this evening asking Lakshmi, the author, what made her write this book, followed by a panel discussion, and the floor will be open for questions at the end of this discussion. Please make a note of your queries and that you will be asking the panelists and win exciting prizes for the same. Our chief guest, Mrs. Kushbhu Sundar, who's expected shortly, will be launching the book. And I request all of you to write your name and contact information in the book that has been passed around. I'm sure a few of you have already done that. Those of you who haven't done that, please do the same. And you can also drop your cards into the bowl that's been placed on that table, your business cards, please. So, babies. I think each and every one of us in this room has held a baby in our arms. How many of you in this room has held a newborn? Can we just have a... That's nice. That's probably 40% of the crowd here. Okay. And how many of you have cared for an expectant mother? That's awesome. And without doubt, mothers and babies occupy a very, very special place in our lives. But every now and then, this beautifully intimate world of theirs is rocked by doubts, fears, and guilt. And they go crazy. So, Lakshmi, oh God, sorry. Lakshmi, you've spoken to mothers and grandmothers from places as diverse as Kashmir and Tuticorin, all the way to Guwahati and Ahmedabad. So can you share with us some of the doubts that first mothers or elders at home usually have faced?
Well, good evening. Thank you all so very much for joining me for the launch of my first book. Well, as Ranjani said, there are so many questions that a first-time mother has when she's expecting, when she's just delivered. So I think Indian mothers' queries are so much more interesting. It's not what you find in the books. It's what you would find in my book. So some of the questions I've been asked, so I'm going to speak in Tamil and Robin. So, motte adichada koyanda talamudi seriya valaruma. Whether tonsure really helps the child graduate from a baby hair to adult hair. What is a good first food? Because we have such a diverse culture. Up north, typical first foods are sabudana or what we call jawarshi. In the south, ragi and rice is preferred. So there are a lot of mothers who ask me this. Will sex after delivery affect with the milk supply or lactation in the mother? Up north, especially from regions like Uttar Pradesh, I've had mothers ask me if the routine of applying katta masala, for those of you who don't know which is the masala found in pan, they apply it to a baby's lips to make it appear rosy, believing that the lips will become rosy eventually. So whether it really works, whether it's harmful to the baby. Also questions like, because there isn't enough knowledge about this, why didn't I have a normal delivery? Did I do something wrong? Why did my child end up with the umbilical cord around the neck? Did I not take proper care during my pregnancy? So, there are a lot of questions from all spheres of, all stages of pregnancy and expecting.
All right. I have another question. You've put a good 2 years of your life into this book, Lakshmi. So what made you write this book?
Firstly, I wanted women, especially in India, to take charge of their pregnancies, because I think we are very prone to sort of give in to unfounded fears. Pregnancy bump anywhere in the world attracts a lot of advice and instructions. But I think as a society, we tend to be more fearful, and therefore our instructions and advice and questions also are laced with a sort of, if I can say, a sense of fear and a negativity. So, I've been told when I was expecting, don't have chilies, your baby will turn blind. If you don't sit up, so when you're sleeping and you're going to, sort of turn sides, you first sit up, you look left and right like as if you were at a zebra crossing, and then you turn sides. Otherwise, the cord will wind up around the child's neck. Don't go near the stove, start cooking right after delivery, because it would dry up your milk. Don't let your child walk before he or she can properly do so, because the spine will bend. But actually the one thing which keeps us erect is actually bent. An adult spine is S-shaped. It has 3 curves to it. A child's spine is C-shaped. It develops the other 2 curves as it starts raising its head and as it starts walking and sitting. So when instructions like this come your way, you just don't know what to do. You're simply going out of control. So that's one reason. Another thing I think is because in our society, the arrival of a baby is a family affair. Everybody is involved. And elders have a way of doing things. Doctors have a way of, setting rules. I think a new mother, therefore, is left with the job of balancing ancient tradition, ancient principles alongside scientific norms. And I think that balancing act can prove very, very overwhelming. And I think that often there are arguments between the mothers-in-law, daughters, between mothers and daughters. And I think sometimes even between couples. Husbands tend to be a little bit more relaxed. They say, Amma kada ellam theriyume. Amma has brought up 2-3 children. She knows everything. Let's just rely on her. And the wife feels pretty upset, the new mother, because the absolute right to raise one's child does not just stay with her, but she has to constantly consult with society on how to raise her child. I think this sort of an environment, there's a constant, an environment of chaos, alienation, confusion is going on, getting reinforced in a new home, where a child is born. And that's not a positive atmosphere. So I think to resolve that conflict and to know how to balance, that's the reason I wrote this book. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lakshmi. Now we know why the book is titled For Bumpier Times. So we now move on to the panel discussion. Today's panelists will touch upon the unique challenges of expecting and raising a newborn in India. They will also talk about time-tested practices that have personally worked or backfired for them. To moderate the discussion, we have with us Dr. P. Ramachandran, the principal reviewer of the Bumpier Times, the book. And Dr. Ramachandran is also an executive member of the Indian Academy of Pediatrics. And he's also the head of the Department of Pediatrics at Sri Ramachandra University. He has had decades of experience both. He's had decades of experience both as a pediatrician and professor at some of India's leading medical colleges.
Thank you for coming.
And the one that's giving the roses away is a beautiful Srinidhi, Lakshmi's daughter. So maybe we can cheer her up as well. That's so cute. Thank you so much, Srinidhi. We'll now have a few words from Dr. Ramachandran.
Good evening. First, my apologies for coming late. I mean, the usual reason of the Madras traffic, and this now it's worse now. I think it's the book is like Madras traffic. It's a bumpy on bumpier roads we are now traveling. And I'm a pediatrician who have been working in this field for nearly 4 decades. But when I went through the questions from Lakshmi and her detailed research, I came to know what little I knew about moms and babies. Because these are some of the things which we generally just tell the mothers that there is nothing to worry. But we are not able to give the explanation. We are not able to give some scientific reasons for many of the practices. We just tell them that this probably is not useful, not necessary. But whether it really has some scientific basis or not, many a times we have to really search very hard. And Lakshmi's questions and her extensive work, research, made me read a lot. And I was going through a lot of things about how the kids, the mothers cope up with a lot of problems, a lot of their queries, their anxieties from her book. Because we do not come across this, especially the men, pediatricians probably, we really may not be knowing because we don't have the first-hand experience. Even the doctors leave it to their mothers or their mother-in-laws to manage many of these problems. They don't give any answers most of the times. So it's a very pioneering work by Ms. Lakshmi to look to the challenge of clarifying many of the common doubts, common queries which rise in the young mothers' minds, especially during the turbulent times of pregnancy and the childbirth. Because on one hand, as she mentioned, there are traditional practices. On the other hand, what is the scientific evidence for these things she is always looking for, because the present mother always looks for scientific evidences. What is the reason for this? So many a times the answers are not easily available because there is no work, there is no real great evidence or literature to back up one way or other, because these are all traditional practices. So the doctors generally go by the advice. If it is not harmful, you can continue. If it is something in their experience, they found it positively affecting the mother or the baby, they will probably tell that better not to do it. So it is most of the time common sense advice rather than any scientific evidence-based advice, because very little is available for many of the practices which have been followed for many centuries. So with this limitation in our knowledge, we had to review Lakshmi's book, and in the process we were able to clarify some other things. In the process we just left it to her. You take the other systems and other people, the elders and other knowledgeable people in the fields which are not exactly in allopathic medicine. So it's a mixture of many people coming together, and ultimately she took the responsibility and finding out which is the best for the expectant mother as well as the mother who has recently delivered a baby. So it's a tremendous compilation, lot of hard work from Ms. Lakshmi. So I congratulate her, and I think this is a book which tries to explore all these queries, questions, and tries to find some answers, because she has got such a big literature to back up whatever she says. It's not just she's telling something. So somebody can go and verify them also. So congratulations, Lakshmi. I think there are some questions which are going to be, or some experiences going to be given by the panelists. So we will take it along as we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramachandran. That was a very valuable insight. Thank you so much. First, we have moving on to our panelists. First, we have Mrs. Himani Datar with us. Welcome, ma'am. She earned her first master's degree in economics and her second master's degree in population sciences by correspondence in 1999. She was a stay-at-home mom while her children were growing up and is now the Honorable Secretary of the Guild of Service at Egmore. She's also the grandmom of a delightful 1-year-old princess. Ma'am, would you like to begin?
Good evening, everyone. I am especially delighted to be here this evening because I have known Lakshmi since the day she was doing graduation with my daughter. So I am immensely proud of all the effort that she has taken to come forth with such a beautiful book. I'm very, very impressed, Lakshmi. The amount of research that she has put in and the issues she has dealt with. Congratulations and keep it up. The book, coming to the book, it is different, it is special, and it is important because I think this is the first time that somebody has thought of what the woman is going through. Generally in Indian society, the minute a girl gets married and then she's pregnant, that is the ultimate of, achievement in the justification for her existence as a woman. Now this is the first time somebody has come forth and said, what are the hopes, the aspirations, the fears, whatever, treating the woman as a human being and dealing with what she is thinking about. And that is why I think this book is really very special. As far as my own experiences are concerned, they can be categorized in a couple of main things. One is what one can or cannot eat. Papaya, as has been mentioned, and pineapple, of course, also were a strict no-no. And I chose to not eat because I thought it was not such a big deal. I was not going to be pregnant for a lifetime. So let me not eat. And if something went wrong, the price to be paid was too big. So I decided I will not eat. Another thing which I was told don't eat was spicy foods, which also I decided the reason for not eating spicy foods is I would get a dark child. Which again I said, fair enough, let me not eat. I've got so many years. And in any case, one is feeling quite sick most of the time. So to eat something spicy or to eat pickles and aggravate the situation really doesn't make too much sense. I was told that I have to eat almonds because then I will have a fair and an intelligent child. Now that is left for my kids to prove to the world whether they are intelligent. I cannot take any credit either way. So these were things which I felt were not really very important, and I don't think any woman should make an issue. It's a non-issue. What you can or cannot eat for 9 months in an entire lifetime really does not matter, I think. What really used to bother me were some of these couple of these other practices, whether it was social practices or childbearing practices. One was this very, very unhealthy preference, sometimes spoken, sometimes it was, around in the air, this preference for having a son, a grandson or a son. Though it may not be vocalized, it is there in most cases, and I think it is a very unhealthy pressure which a woman has to go through. Ultimately, what the family wants, what the mother wants, and what is good for the child is that the child should be normal and healthy in all ways. It's not as if like old times your son is going to sit there on the gaddi and carry on your business or till your farm. So let us just get out of this male preference business, I think, once and for all, and make things easier for the woman who's bearing the child. The other thing was this trauma which the mother and the child has to go through when you have an ayah who pummels the child with oil and then gives an extremely hot water bath. I went through that trauma for my kids and for my grandchild. And within a day or two, I decided this was not going to happen. And I took over the responsibility myself. And I think one should see what the child wants, what the child is coming. No point having a bawling kid and, you say the hot water will do this, strengthen the bones and something like that. So let us be practical about things. It's in fact the most wonderful time to bond with your baby, It's such a pleasant experience. The child is gurgling, enjoying the tepid warm water and the gentle massage. One should enjoy each experience and savor it. Two other things which I used to not agree with, which I went through because I went through the flow quite a few times, was this putting a lot of oil to fill the talu or this soft portion of the head. Though I had been told, my father was into allopathic research, so he had told me that no oil is going to percolate inside and solidify or harden the skull. So he said, and in my son's case, because he was prone to colds, in fact, it used to make matters worse. And putting kajal, that was the second thing, which I thought was, it adds sparkle to the eyes. It does not make any scientific sense, really. But it was done, and I just thought, okay, let me just tolerate it. So these were some of the things which I feel you should let the woman who has actually borne the kid have a voice in practices that she does not agree with. One should not bulldoze, and this is for women of my generation now, because I am in the grandmother generation now. I would really request mothers in our generation to let the girls be. Most of the time when we were young mothers, we used to go with the flow. If some elder said something, we used to say, okay, not a big deal. Girls these days have this information overload. The internet is there for everything. In fact, when my daughter delivered, my granddaughter will be a year old very soon. When she delivered, she started telling me, there is feeding, there is the football hold, there is this hold, there is that hold. I said, where did all this come from? I mean, we just held the baby. No, the baby should latch like this. The baby should do this. I said, the baby doesn't know its right hand from its left. Where is the question of the baby knowing how to latch? It will just naturally latch and feed. But no. And at the same time, when they are all so aware of information, they have no qualms about going to a shopping mall very late, in the later stages, 8th month, 9th month, up and down escalators. So, and they have no qualms about watching horror movies, about seeing, these two Hindi serials which are full of this Saas Bahu clashes, all the negativity of the world is in it. They have no qualms. I think it makes sense that at that stage, where the thoughts and the moods and the emotions of the mother are important, are affecting the fetus, read good books, listen to good music. It makes sense. Why should one be traumatized by some crime serials? And this dichotomy, I really don't understand. On the one hand, you are so conscious of feeding positions, and then you are doing these things which are positively unhealthy. So these are a couple of things which I have gone through or experienced. And just as a last thing, which is little bit of grandmotherly advice, I think, I feel girls today get married late, then they want to enjoy life after they get married, so they postpone having their kids. They must realize that the biological clock is ticking all the time. It's not waiting because now you have decided to be a career woman, or now you have decided to. So don't postpone having your kids too long, because it's not good for you and it's not good for the child. And the last point is that there is a lot of discussion these days about quality time being spent with your babies. I think personally that it makes a lot of sense to spend more time with your baby than to spend more money for your baby. And this is more not just for the baby, it is for you, because inevitably the child is going to grow up and go their own ways. And you are going to be left only with a huge treasure chest of memories. And it is only these memories which will sustain you and which you will cherish once your kids are no longer with you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was wonderful. Moving on to our second panelist is Mrs. Karthika Gopalakrishnan. Karthika works with the Book Lovers program for schools and is the manager of iloveread.in. It's an online library, and she's also the mother of a 2.5-year-old.
Thank you. 2.3, but I guess it doesn't really make a difference. I'm here because I know Lakshmi from college, and we also work together. First off, I'm really glad that she wrote this book, because when I was pregnant, firstly, my husband and I had not planned for a baby at all. So it came as a complete surprise and slightly shocked when we found out that I was pregnant about 3 years ago. But we coped with it. We listened to everybody's advice. Everybody was willing to give young people lots of advice. We listened to everything. I bought a book called What to Expect When You're Expecting. which is the book that most people buy when they get pregnant. I read it. I read it throughout my pregnancy. I read it. It covered the whole 9 months. And I found it useful, but of course it was an American book, so a lot of the context didn't apply to us. So my primary reason for being here is I'm really glad Lakshmi wrote the book, because I've read a preview copy and I find it really useful. A couple of issues that I encountered during my pregnancy was that was not a conflict with time-tested practices, but I think it was an issue with, like Mrs. Himani mentioned, an information overload and maybe just too much modernity interfering with the pregnancy. As a young parent, I decided that in addition to all the advice that I was getting, I would also enroll for a pregnancy class, which deals with, telling young mothers how to take care of their children and how to take care of your child and how to take care of themselves during the pregnancy. So it was a class where you could go in and they would give you soothing music to listen to. You can dip your feet in warm water to prevent swelling of your ankles. They would do Tai Chi exercises with you, which are good for your body, regulate your breathing, supposed to help you during labor. All of that was great, and you could track the progress of your pregnancy with somebody who was assigned to talk to you about it. And I had a good time because my work was also really demanding at that time, so I find these classes were quite relaxing. But the issue was that I think maybe they were paid to do it. They would scrutinize every detail of your pregnancy and sort of magnify things that didn't seem to matter so much. For instance, they got me to maintain something called a kick counter, which is you record how many times you have movements in your body how many movements the baby is making. Now I know it's mandatory that the baby has to make a certain number of movements a day, but I started to get obsessive about it. Every hour I would sit down and track how many movements have happened, and I would panic that maybe there's not enough that's happened at this particular hour. And now in hindsight, it seems unnecessary. That was one. Another issue that I had was that they told me not to have anything out of plastic containers. I understand there's a small risk involved in heating food in microwavable containers, but I would drink water out of a plastic bottle and they would say, no plastic. Everything has to be glass or stainless steel. So I said, all right. It seemed a little excessive. So then the delivery happened, went off without a hitch. Post-delivery, of course, you're confined to home. You have to rest it out completely. You can sleep. You can feed the baby. That's it. You can barely sit up as well. But at my house, there was an additional restriction where I was not allowed to read either. And I found that really difficult. So they said you have to rest all the nerves in your body. You cannot read any book. Reading off the phone, never mind. Can't look at your phone. So that was one more issue that I had. But the biggest issue that I encountered was with regard to the breastfeeding practices. When I was at the hospital, both the nurses and the midwife who was hired to take care of me did not show me the correct position on how to breastfeed. So the baby's latch was not right. I had an issue. It was painful at first, and everybody told me, of course breastfeeding is painful. Did you think it'll be a walk in the park? And I said, okay, maybe this is how it's supposed to be. But at one point, the baby was literally drawing blood along with the milk. And then they realized that, okay, there's something wrong here. We definitely need to get the doctor to look at it. So we did. We got it treated, and then it got back on track. And Google helped there. So that was one good thing about pregnancy. About Google being there. Apart from that, I didn't encounter any massive issues. There's only the flip side. I enjoyed the Tai Chi classes. I really think that, or I'd like to think that the breathing exercises help during labor. I don't know if my doctor would agree. And I don't know if I'm really glad the rooms were noise proofed. Another thing that I really enjoy doing is I love reading books to my daughter. She was surrounded by books right from when she was a child. So she picked up on books right from when she was about 6 months old. My husband tells me that we were both very excited when she turned her first page. She would look at pictures, but she would never turn the pages. So when she did turn the page, we were both very excited. And now she just loves books. She loves The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and she can say it by heart. So that's a good thing. But those are my experiences as a mother I'd like to highlight. There's more. All of that is in the book, so please do buy it and read it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kartika. Our third panelist is Mrs. Nishkala Shrikaran. She's a mother of two and a freelancer patent analyst for Thomson Reuters. She earned her master's degree in biotechnology from Madras University, and she grew up in Ahmedabad and currently calls Chennai her home.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Lakshmi on this wonderful book. My journey with Lakshmi started 2 years back when our children used to go to the same play school. I'm basically a South Indian, but being brought up in North Indian, I got this opportunity to observe both the cultures closely. Yes, it's very difficult to bring up a child in this country with millions of rituals and beliefs, right, which is supposed to be followed right from the day one. And if you have a mind of your own and a scientific background like me, you don't want to, listen to any non-medical advice. So my first experience that I would like to share with you is okay. Okay, yeah. So I still remember the practice of giving herbal medicines to my child, which was brought from the local dabba chitti shop. We used to sterilize those medicine, grind them on the stone, and apply it on the tongue of the baby. In spite of the strict instructions from the doctors that I'm not supposed to give anything apart from the breast milk for the first 6 months, I followed the practice thinking that it will do some good to the baby. But yes, the child had less instances of cold and cough during that first 1.5 period of time. All the practices and beliefs are not beneficial. I still remember my grandmother giving boiling milk with this raw garlic, adding palm jaggery to it, and asking me to drink it just because telling it to help breast milk production. I used to hold my nose and drink it. It was that awful. I like garlic in matar paneer, but having it raw with milk was really awful. So I don't know if it helped my breast milk production, but yes, it kept my husband away from me because there was an aroma of garlic around me. So yeah, and one another experience was with bathing the children. My first child, we employed a maid in Chennai to bathe him. He had rashes all over his body. I took him to the doctor. He said that it's because of the improper removal of oil in his body. So for the next delivery, we had this Maharashtrian maid who are very expert in giving oil massages to the baby. Yeah, she did a good job. I didn't find any rashes on her body. But today there is a lot of contention with giving these oil massages. The doctors ban it altogether. I don't know, the ban is because of the oil they use, or it's because of the improper removal of the oil after bath, which gives further distress to the child. So during that time I felt if I had something or someone to fall back on, my child experience, my upbringing of the child would have been better. I had this constant fear that my child should be safe from following all the practices, from all these strange practices. So next time when you visit a pregnant friend or a person who is expecting a child, you don't have to think twice on what gift you have to give them. Give a copy of this book. It will definitely help them, guide them, and make their lives with the child simpler. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nishkala. Sir, we'd like to hear your thoughts on their concerns and experiences, if you may, please.
I think very well put comments from all the experienced mothers and grandmothers, I should say. I'm in a grandfather age, so it's really, I just wanted to know, how much the present day mothers take the advice of the mothers or mothers-in-law? Also, I do not know. Probably they also think which is the best, which doesn't harm and which doesn't look very unscientific. Probably they go along with that. I think that's how they look at it. Because ultimately everybody want to be very harmonious way things to happen. And ultimately what the grandmother or the mother-in-law want is the mom and the baby to be very good and very safe. I think the intentions are extremely good. And we really don't know whether some of the things are helpful or not. But as long as it doesn't seem to be obviously harmful, like restriction of diet, So extreme restriction in diet may be a bad thing, except that a few things which that can be excluded may not, as ma'am said, that may not make much of a difference in the nutrition. Otherwise, the diet is containing most of the basic things. That should not be any problem. That is one thing. I think nowadays most of the mothers can take that advice from their doctors, and nowadays most of the doctors want to talk to the grandmothers also, that is the mother-in-laws and the grandmothers also. They talk to them, they discuss with them, and discuss the concerns along with them, not just the pregnant woman. I think they call them, if there is some differences, they just try to resolve there itself. And if they find that certain things are not harmful and actually maybe possibly helpful, they just say you can just go ahead. There is nothing wrong in that. There are many things like, as ma'am was telling, restricting something like very horror experiences or nothing positive, not good. Those things are generally, you want a very good mental as well as physical environment for a pregnant woman. So those things we feel that will be definitely helpful. So those are the things if the mothers or grandmothers want, definitely the doctors also go with them and say that that's a very good, very sensible advice. You will have to take them. And also, as said, not too much of exertion. It's neither nothing done in excess is going to be good for the pregnant woman or during pregnancy, as well as during the childbirth, as well as during the child in the early years. So we always take the central path. I again give the analogy of Madras traffic. You don't want to go in the left or right because you know you will go into the water. So always take a central path which you find that reasonably safe. You can see certain things, nothing wrong is going on. So you just take whichever is good practices and try to avoid the bad ones. As far as the baby is concerned, the feeding, things were done intuitively probably before. We learned swimming not by going to the swimming pool or anything. In the villages, we just used to go with our friends, we just learned. That is one era. Now it is not that way. There is nothing you can do. You have to go to a swimming pool to learn swimming. Same way, the grandmothers were also very confident those days. So they were able to tell the mothers how to feed the baby. Now most of them, they have forgotten. And they also don't want to take a chance. They say that if something goes wrong, then I will be taken to task. Okay, so they are also very careful. They say that you better ask the doctor. So the doctor has to play the role of a grandmother also nowadays. Though he doesn't know anything, doesn't have the experience of the grandmother. They don't teach us all these things in the medical school, how to do many of the things. But the present day, when I studied, we are taught more about how to prepare a milk in a bottle. We are not told how to tell the mother how to hold the baby, how to help her in latching, positioning and all that. We learned later. So these are all come much later when we realize that it is not just intuitive for every mother. Some mothers do need help. They may be doing much better if somebody tells them this is where you have to hold the baby, especially initial few days, cesarean section and other things, help them out. That is really very helpful. Because once they get a painful experience for the first few days, that may inhibit the milk secretion and that may be starting of introducing the bottle feeding and other things, which we definitely don't want. So that way, in everything, there is a group of people who require help. Majority may not require, they will do by intuition and they have some elders to help, but there may be some people who may be requiring help. So for them, this kind of an advice, how to hold the baby, how to breastfeed, will help. And regarding the bath, there are so many myths, it's very difficult to just do away with them. And professional people who give bath, nowadays that also we tell them upfront. As soon as the baby is born, we tell them. Not because once the damage is done, sometimes some babies come with severe breathing difficulty because the oil is put into the nose and blown. Even in this age, in the cities, it is being done. Okay, because they think that that's the best way to take out the phlegm from the baby. What is there in the nose, they make sure that it reaches the lungs. That's all. That's what happens. Okay. So we tell them that you can ask them to give bath. That's all okay. But you also keep learning. Because ultimately, what the mother does for her own baby, she will get a lot of pleasure. And I think these are the things which are highlighted in the book also. Lakshmi has mentioned. Regarding the oil, what the doctors advise is not, there is nothing against oil massage. They say oil bath Whether it is really helpful or not, it's not known. But if it is preceded by an oil massage, probably it is increases the baby's circulation, bonding, all this babies gets a pleasurable feeling. But after that, the bath is done and the oil is taken away. That may not be of much use. So many of the people nowadays are using some baby oil also. And after the bath, they give the massages few times. That seems to help the baby. The neuromotor coordination, other things, the scientific evidences are coming up that it does help the baby in improving a lot of their body health. So an oil massage, there may not be anything wrong or may be useful. An oil bath is questionable except the oil massage which precedes it. So these are some of the things which we just come across. We have been discussing with Lakshmi also. And many of these things are found in detail in the book with differing opinions also are found in the book. It's not that only the doctor's opinions, it's also the good opinion from the others, the social scientists and homeopathy and other systems of doctors. Their opinions are also found in the book. So that way some of the good things which seem to be the traditional as well as supported by the scientific evidence are supposed to be, have to be carried on. These are definitely are helpful to both the mother and the baby. Have I left out anything specific? I think.
Thank you so much, sir. Now that you heard a mother's perspective, a grandmother's perspective, and a doctor's perspective, do we have any new daddy here or a new grandfather here or a grandmother who would like to share some of their experiences?
With due respect, how many obstetricians and pediatricians prescribe bottle feed? I known recently, I won't name it. A 3-month-old mother, baby is only 3 months, mother comes and tells baby is not having enough milk. I said, how do you know? It's crying all the time. Crying, there may be many reasons. And immediately, dabba and also a bottle from a medical college. I don't want to name it. When questioned, he said, this is my way of doing. Are we responsible? And sippers, I see even today, one 2-year-old boy in the car, well-to-do. I see so many in the hospital, something 2-year-old having the bottle. What is the necessity for a milk at this age? And having the namkeen and kurkure. No, we have to have healthy. See, I'm distressed when even a well-known people advising bottle feed. My niece delivered last month, and she was given the prenatal one. I said, who gave you? They only, hospital only gave. I said, throw that out. What for? You're a mother. It will take few days for it to, unless the baby sucks, it will not be there. See, we have to be a little responsible. Baby sucker. Today also I threw out one. I caught one 3-year-old boy. He was crying. I said, mother was with me. Let him cry. Deny him that. It has become a habit. My son is around 30. When I delivered, one pediatrician from Gujarat, he advised me, madam, don't take that bottle. With a small cup and a spoon. Baby is better. Number palada. That's the best. ஒரு வயசு 2 வயசுக்கு அப்புறம் என்னத்துக்கு பால்? அதுவும் அந்த பால் நாத்தம் அடிக்கிறது. No, educated people do it. You go to Saravana and T Nagar, all of them with a bottle with a cap out. This culture has to be known to them. That is not proper.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your question. I'll let the expert here respond to you. But just to address your concern, the introduction to this book has been written by a gentleman called Dr. Arun Gupta. Arun Gupta is a member of the Prime Minister's Council for India's Nutrition Challenges. He's also the chairman of Breastfeeding Promotion Network of India. He is the man behind banning Cerelac and Farix ads in India. So I would just like to say up front that this is the tone of the book. It is pro-breastfeeding exclusively for 6 months and recommended like the WHO for 2 years. But I will let the expert respond to your.
I mean, I don't have anything other than totally agreeing with what Madam has said. The responsibility lies with the doctors equally. So there is no way we can shirk it and say that it's not there. So we have to be proactive, and the doctors, starting from the obstetrician, the pediatrician, the neonatologist and pediatrician, or there they have to actively promote, they have to expect this problem from the expectant mother, tell right from the pregnancy period that you be prepared for breastfeeding. There is no problem. The initial few days, it will be less milk. Don't be upset about it. That is sufficient for your baby. So because what the mother wants ultimately, she thinks that her baby should be growing well. She thinks that her milk is not sufficient. And there are enough people who probably don't know the reason also, they just give the wrong advice. That's the reason the whole thing starts. Okay, the whole downward this thing trend towards lack of breastfeeding starts there. So the doctor's responsibility, the health worker's responsibility to anticipate these problems, give the guidance that it will be like this. There may be certain days you may feel a less flow. Don't worry about it. Keep feeding. Keep the child only on breast. Automatically it will improve. So that's kind of a confidence we have to give to the young mothers. And most of them, they know that it is her milk which is going to be the best. And many of them tell that I have to go for work on the 4th month. We tell them, after this, your child becomes around 15 to 16 years, you have to spend lakhs. That time it will become crores to get into an IIT or something, just because his IQ will improve by 5 or 6. If you can continue your own milk for the expected time, even his IQ is going to improve. So don't bother about this 2 months loss of pay. It's see to that your child gets the best for himself and for your family. So that's what we insist. We tell them we are quite proactive, but still the message has to be consistent, uniform, and it has to be done by everybody. And that's the way the mothers will develop confidence, and they will see that what is the best is being told to them. And we have to, not only the mothers, we have to convince the neighbors, we have to convince the in-laws, we have to convince the grandmothers. Even the grandmothers think that her own child, that is her daughter, should not suffer because that she has to get up in the nights sometimes. And because of the breastfeeding, she will become weak. These are a lot of misconceptions are there, wrong notions are there. She doesn't know that preparing the bottle, cleaning the bottle is going to take nearly 20 to 30 minutes every time. So we keep telling them, the scientific basis why this is being done, and most of them become quite convinced. And most of the mothers nowadays, when you tell them right up front that these are the problems, so don't do it, 6 months exclusive breastfeeding, they are willing to take, and they are willing to spend the time for the baby. Even though they are all very professional, they have a lot of high paid jobs, they are still willing to do that and express the milk, keep it at home and in a stainless steel vessel or something which can be kept for many hours without any problem. The grandmother can feed it to the child. Not in the bottle, I am telling the vessel. Okay? And a child can take straight from the vessel even as early as 15 days or 20 days. There are many videos which show that the child can take from a broad cup even from as early as that time. So it is not at all difficult. Do not encourage unhealthy practices like, as Madam said, as using a zipper. How difficult to clean so many holes in that. So these are all the bad things which have been brought to us. Let us not encourage them. Go back to the healthy practices which we have been following. That is the best thing for ourselves and our babies.
Thank you so much, sir. We'd like to, we have a giveaway for you. Thank you so much for asking us the question, ma'am. While our chief guest is on her way, she should be here in another, okay, she's already here, okay. I start? Okay. We have amongst us popular actress and mother to two beautiful girls, Mrs. Kushbhu Sundar, who needs no introduction at all. We welcome you, ma'am. We request you to please launch the book. And ma'am, if you could please sign a copy, please. This will be put up for auction. And ma'am, if you could please sign a copy, that will be put up for auction on the Odyssey website, and the proceeds will be going to charity. Okay. We also have a lovely sketch of you that's been made by an artist, Mr. V.V. Ramani. We're still having this, right? Recent grandmother? Yeah. Okay. Mama, can you go there? Also, is there a recent mother or grandmother who'd like to come forward and you can receive the first copy from Kushbhu ma'am? Anyone, please? In every. Ma'am, we know you're coming straight from the airport and you've actually managed to cross the traffic to get here. Thank you so much for that. Would you like to say a few words, please?
Good evening. வணக்கம். தமிழில் பேசினா கொஞ்சம் பெட்டராக இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது. ஏன்னா ஃபார் பம்பியர் ரைட்ஸ் இந்த புத்தகத்தை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா லக்ஷ்மி வந்து திடீர்னு எனக்கு அவுட் ஆஃப் த ப்ளூ மும்பையிலேருந்து ஃபோன் பண்ணிவிட்டு ஐ எம் அ ரைட்டர் அண்ட் ஐ வாண்ட் யூ டு லான்ச் மை புக் சொன்னாங்க. அண்ட் தென் ஷீ ஜஸ்ட் சென்ட் மீ ஃபியூ ஸ்னிப்பெட்ஸ். அவங்கள பற்றி ஒரு பயோடேட்டாவில் அனுப்புனாங்க. அது தேவையில்லாமல் இருந்தது எனக்கு லக்ஷ்மி. பட் இட் வாஸ் வெரி நைஸ். ஏன்னா இப்போ இருக்கிற காலகட்டத்தில் வந்து நம்ம வந்து என்ன செய்ய போகிறோம், புதுசாக என்ன செய்ய போகிறோம், எல்லோரும் செஞ்சதை வந்து செஞ்சுட்டு தான் இருக்கோம். ஆனால் புதுசாக என்ன செய்ய போகிறோம் ரொம்ப முக்கியமான, ஐ திங்க் இட்ஸ் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஸ்பெஷலி ஃபார் அ உமன் இஸ் டு ஃபாலோ யுவர் ட்ரீம்ஸ். Lakshmi Manda, we know that she has been a journalist into the press, but her dream to be a writer, to write something, and writer na verum fiction mattum kediyadu. It's more like what can you give back to the people. Avungaluடைய journey as a mother, right from the time when she conceived to the delivery and the complications, delivery ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் எல்லா வீட்லேயும் வந்து நடக்கிற விஷயம். ஒரு குழந்தைய வந்து நம்ம பெற்றுட்டோம்னா அது வந்து எப்படி வளர்க்கணும்னா நம்ம விட மற்றவங்களுக்கு அதிகமாக தெரியும். அது வீட்டில் வந்து சொல்லுவாங்க, ஏன் நாங்கள் குழந்தை பெற்றுக்கலையா, எங்களுக்கு தெரியாதா, பெரியவங்க வீட்டில் இருப்பாங்க, அதை சொல்லிகிட்டே இருப்பாங்க. ஆனால் காலம் மாறிட்டே வருது. காலம் மாறிட்டே வருதுன்னா it becomes a duty to tell them that what is right and what is wrong. ஒரு காலத்தில் வந்து குழந்தைங்களுக்கு வந்து எண்ணெய் ஊற்றி காதில் கண்ணில் மூக்கில் எண்ணெய் ஊற்றி தேய்னா தேய்ச்சி அப்படி என்னென்னமோ பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. ஆனால் இப்போலாம் வந்து it's different. The first thing doctor says, don't touch the baby with powder or oil for the first 30 days. அது வந்து எத்தனை பேருக்கு தெரியும்? I have been through the same thing. My daughters are 15 and 13 today, teenagers. And when I gave birth to my daughters, I had the same problems. My mom, my mother-in-law, everyone. எல்லாரும் வந்து ஏன் நாங்கள் குழந்தை பெற்றுக்கல. My mom used to shout at me. I said, அம்மா இது பண்ணாதீங்கன்னு. ஏன் உங்கள் 4 பேரும் வந்து பெற்ற வளர்க்கல நான்? My mother-in-law used to say, ஏன் என் பையனும் மீதி 4 பசங்க நான் வளர்க்கல? So it's very difficult, to tell them that இது பண்ணக்கூடாது. அப்புறம் வந்து அவங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு டாக்டர்கிட்ட கூட்டிகிட்டு போய் டாக்டர்கிட்ட ரகசியமாக பேசிட்டு டாக்டர் இதுதான் இருக்குது கொஞ்சம் கேட்க மாட்டேங்கிறாங்களே, நீங்களே வந்து என் நெக்ஸ்ட் டைம் அந்த குழந்தை கூட்டிகிட்டு வரும்போது நீங்களே கொஞ்சம் சொல்லிடுங்க, பெட்டராக இருக்கும். ஸோ பட் now this is something, like you read the book and you take it forward, you give it to your grandmother, you give it to your mother, you give it to the people at home, the women at home, and how important it is. ஒரு குழந்தை பெற்றுட்டோம்னா மதரோட டியூட்டி கிடையாது. ஆனால் ஒரு குழந்தை வளர்க்கும் போது நம்ம சொல்கிறோம் இவர் தான் அப்பா, ஆனால் அப்பாவோட டியூட்டிஸ் என்ன இருக்குது டுவர்ட்ஸ் த சைல்டு. டைப்பர் சேஞ்சிங்லேருந்து குழந்தை வந்து குளிப்பாட்டுறதுலேருந்து சாப்பாடு ஊட்டுறதுலேருந்து எத்தனை பேர் பண்ணுறாங்க, அது ஒன்று இருக்குது. Father becomes the most important part, and especially girl child. Father becomes the hero to them. அம்மா எல்லாம் பேக் சீட். அது நான் சொல்வேன், I tell my daughters, I'm in the pin pocketல தான் என்னை வச்சுருக்கீங்க. ஏன்னா 2 மணிக்கு 2 பேரும் எழுப்பி நீங்கள் வந்து அம்மா செல்லம்மா கேட்டாக்க சண்டைக்கு வருவாங்க. 2 மணிக்கு சண்டைக்கு வருவாங்க. நோ அப்பா செல்லம், கெட் தட் கிளியர், மறுபடியும் தூங்கிடுவாங்க. ஸோ ஐ திங்க் இட்ஸ் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஃபார் த ஃபாதர்ஸ் தட் ஹவ் தே கம் அலாங் அண்ட் தே ஹெல்ப் the new mother to, when you start, the minute you conceive till the time you deliver, the child understands you. இன்னொன்று சொல்லுவாங்க, குழந்தை வந்து நெஞ்சில் போட்டுக்கும், அழுதுதான் நெஞ்சில் போட்டுக்கும். அது வந்து இட்ஸ் நாட் பிகாஸ் மதர்ஸ் டச், it's because ரைட் சைடில் ஏன் குழந்தை நம்ம போடுறோன்னா the heart beat, அது குழந்தைக்கு தெரியுது, the mother's heart beat, because that's what the child, the first beat, the first sound, the first touch, the first feel for a child is the mother's feel and everything. So I think, இந்த சின்ன சின்ன விஷயங்கள் இருக்கலாம், ஆனால் நம்ம வீட்டுக்குள்ளே நம்ம எப்படி மாற்றங்கள் கொண்டு வர முடியும், எப்படி சொல்லி வைக்க முடியும். And when you look at the book, on the opening pageல வந்து to my appa, the most wonderful mom na potrukanga, because she, again being a girl child, closest to the father, so I think, and her dad is also here, inga ponaru there. So I think it's very important, Lakshmi vida iniki vanda, I'm sure Lakshmi's dad is feeling very proud of his daughter, that she has come to this stage and how she is evolving herself as a human, as a mother, as a person. So all that is important. So I think every drop makes an ocean, Madri. What can we give back to the society in our own way? அதுதான் ரொம்ப முக்கியம். ஸோ இன்றைக்கி நான் இங்கே வந்திருக்கிறது காரணம் வந்து கண்டிப்பாக ஒரு பெண்ணாக இருக்கிறதுனால, 2 குழந்தைங்களுக்கு அம்மா இருக்கிறதுனால எனக்கு வந்து அந்த விஷயங்கள் பீன் த்ரூ தட். ஸோ அதனால தான் அந்த விஷயங்கள் வந்து நம்ம கலந்து பேசும்போது, when we share our thoughts, it really helps us. And all I would like to say is lovely to see this audience, because normally வந்து இந்த மாதிரி வந்து க்ரௌட் நம்ம பார்க்குறது இல்லை. அதுவும் இப்போ சென்னையில் வந்து ரோட் சரியில்லை, மழை இருக்குது, எல்லா இடத்துலையும் தண்ணி தேங்கி நிற்குது. பட் இருந்தாலும் இந்த அளவுக்கு கூட்டம் வந்திருக்குன்னா it really gives me so much of joy. And I'm sure this crowd is all because of this wonderful woman here called Lakshmy Ramanathan, who's coming out of the Pandora box open pannittu, giving her ideas to this world. Congratulations, Lakshmi, and I hope you come up with many more books. And tomorrow, I mean, you never know, Booker's Prize, and tomorrow we can also say enakku Lakshmi theriyumpa. So all the very best to that, and congratulations to Shreya's you too for being such a wonderful and supportive husband, and to the entire gang here, the group here, the fans, the friends, I would rather say, for being here to show the support to Lakshmi and her entire family. And 1 or 2 have come to take a look at me. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
லொகேஷன் அந்த மாதிரி அது அவசியமே இல்லை. நிறைய பேர் இந்த சாரி அந்த ஆயாக்கள் who knows to bathe. Everybody knows to bathe. She is not any special one. And second, powder. I see the ad also. குழந்தைக்கு போட்டால் சாஃப்டாக எப்போ இருப்பான். It causes allergy. These sort of advertisements should be banned. Very, very important. இல்லைம்மா நம்மளுக்கு நம்ம அவாய்ட் பண்ணலாமே. பவுடர், டோன்ட் கிவ் த பவுடர் as a gift to the baby, newborn, puff அதெல்லாம் கொடுக்காதீங்க. பாட்டில், சிப்பர், plastic spoon, cup, please avoid all those things. These two things I wanted to emphasize because many people say powder podu, powder podu, powder podu. குழந்தைக்கு முதல்ல போய் அலர்ஜி. Yes, madam.
ஹலோ.
Yes.
பவுடர் விட இப்போ வந்து திருஷ்டி படக்கூடாதுன்னா மூஞ்சில வந்து 4 இடத்துல பொட்டெல்லாம் கருப்பு, கண்ணுக்குள்ள மை, இங்கே ஒரு கருப்பு, நெத்தில ஒரு கருப்பு, கால்ல ஒரு கருப்பு பொட்டு.
அதுவாது பரவாயில்ல.
இல்லம்மா, கண்ணுக்குள்ள அதுதான்
வேண்டாம். மத்த இடத்துல போட்டுக்கோங்க, எத்தனை வேணா.
கண்ணுக்குள்ள எல்லாம் வந்து மையெல்லாம் போட்டுட்டு
வேண்டாம். இதெல்லாம் தெரியணும் குழந்தைக்கு. நீங்களே உங்க குழந்தையை குளிப்பாட்டுங்க. எதுக்கு ஆயா?
I have to share, I've never had a nanny to take care of my children. I've single-handedly brought up my daughters and I'm very proud of that.
And don't say pregnancy is a normal phenomenon. படுத்துக்கணும், தூங்கணும், ரெஸ்ட் எடுக்கணும், not necessary. It's a very normal phenomenon. Try to understand, eat well, feed the baby well as much as you can. அதுக்குன்னு சிப்பர் வச்சுட்டு ஒரு வருஷத்துக்கு அப்புறம் பாட்டிலாம் வேண்டாம். Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Lakshmi, would you like to say a few words?
First of all, thank you everybody for making it despite the rains, the traffic and everything else. I just want to thank Mrs. Kushbhu for such a big gesture. I'm indebted to this and I hope that this association grows and I make you prouder as I hope my family is. And I just want to say a big thank you to Mrs. Himani, Mrs. Nishkala and Kartika for being here and agreeing to be the panelists here. And also Dr. Ramchandran, who, as we've previously said, is an executive member of the Indian Academy of Pediatrics. He's brought a lot of authenticity to my book and has really helped everybody take notice of this book. So thank you so very much, sir. You came on board when I didn't have a publishing contract. And I've talked, in the last year, I've talked more often with Dr. Ramchandran than my husband. So thank you, Shreyas, for, we had those night chats after 10 for sitting and reviewing all the question and answers. Thank you to Odyssey, who's been so warm, so welcoming. And just not letting me bother with the nitty-gritties. I also want to thank all the media who's here. You've seen me grow. You've seen me being a very junior trainee. And now you've seen me bring this book out. So thank you for accompanying me throughout this journey. And my family who's been backing me every day. And also a very big special thanks to Chandrasekhar, my friend over there in white and blue. And also my host Ranjini for again taking these responsibilities off my head and letting me focus just on the book today. Thank you all for making this day very, very, very special. Thank you. Oh yes, and thank you to my daughter. She doesn't seem to, I think all the kids here, in fact, the chatter and the noise that they've contributed to here, I think really reflect the kind of the kind of environment that a mother is, however, whatever she's doing, they have their own limelight, they have their own activity going on. It's more like this is just happening on the side, by the way, So thank you, kids, for showing everybody that you're still very important to all of us. Yeah.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you all of you for coming out here today. You may all proceed to, buy your copies of the book, and you can have it signed by the author. And friends from media, if you would have any questions to any of the panelists here or our chief guest, Ms. Kushbhu and Dr. Ramachandran, please feel free to come forward with your questions. Okay, anyone else? Do any of you have a question?
Not a question, but just a word of appreciation and some nostalgia. Here we have Lakshmi. Lakshmi is my cousin, and as a young kid, I used to call her Mammika because I couldn't pronounce the word Lakshmi. I used to call her Mammika, and now it's interesting to see that she has become a mummy bookka. And Dr. Ramachandran also happens to be my pediatrician, so for the past 27 odd years. Thanks everybody. And that's my childhood icon, Kushbhu Sundar.
Side gap la ice போடுறதுதான் இதுதான். All right, any more questions please? All right, so we could have a small photo session with the panelists for the day, and there are also some refreshments